Today we are going to talk about how to survive drawdowns and how to optimize your trading psychology to be able to stomach and go through these periods of times. As trading inherently carries risk, it also carries uncertainty. And when it comes to trading, we never really know exactly how our trading performance is going to be week to week or month to month. In fact, a drawdown when it comes to trading is inevitable because markets are not fully predictable by any means. There are times where you think something's going to happen and something completely different happens. And so drawdown is going to happen. So to discuss this topic and to how to better tackle drawdown, we're going to be taking a look at that in today's video, starting with this chart that is to my left here. Now, what's critical about drawdown is that you understand that in order to get yourself out of a drawdown, the first and foremost thing that you can do is to avoid getting into too big of a drawdown. Now, we'll talk about some ways to avoid that in just a second. But first, let's talk about the severity of what we're talking about when it comes to drawdown. As we get started, make sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button to find more content from us in the future. So what this table shows us is the drawdown percentage that an account may incur and the return required, the simple math to get back to break even. Now, this is critical because what you can start to see pretty quick here is that the bigger an account is in drawdown, the harder it is to recover things back to a break even status. By having too big of a position size, it's easier to get yourself into more steep and more painful drawdowns. By keeping a smaller size, the mathematics of it are very simple in the sense that it is much more easy to avoid larger drawdowns if your trading size that you're using on your account is smaller. If your drawdown is just 5% in the overall equity in your account, and remember, a simple definition or an overly simplified version of drawdown is just this concept that your equity in your account from the high point to where it currently sits, if it's down, like let's say you have a $10,000 account and you are down $100, that's a 1% drawdown. So if you're in a 5% drawdown, in order for your account to get back to the full value, the starting balance, you need to return 5.3% in terms of gains. If we reach a 10% drawdown, it takes 11.1% in order to get back to break even. And I should take a second to also disclaim that this chart does not include trading fees. Every time you take a trade or hold a trade overnight, there may be fees associated to that. So I'd encourage you to review those sides of things before proceeding further. If we're in a 15% drawdown, a 17.6% return is needed to get back to break even. Now you can start to see things start to get a little bit trickier, and you'll notice that the number on the right is starting to outpace the number on the left. Now we're at a 20% drawdown. It takes a 25% return to get back to break even. But what about once we get past 30? This is where things get really tricky. If you have a 30% drawdown, you need almost a 43% return in order to get back to break even. And after this point, it starts to get rocky. At a 40% drawdown, you need a 66.7% return in order to get your account back to break even. What you can start to see here is the further down this path you go, the harder it gets on this side of things to get back to break even. If we take a look at 45%, you need almost double that in returns in order to get back to break even. And if we look at 50% drawdowns on the account, you're looking at requiring a 100% return in order to get back to break even. And past the 50% mark, it starts to get real dire. 55, 60, 65, 70, you can see we start needing some really big returns in order just to get back to break even. So what this simple table is ultimately showing you is that the more drawdown you're in, the harder it is to get out. It's like a sinking pit. It sinks slowly at first and then really quickly. So the best way to avoid a devastating drawdown scenario is to, how do we do it? Small position size. I talked about that at the beginning or hinted at it, but the biggest defense you can give yourself when it comes to not getting yourself into these drawdowns is to put a smaller position size on and to fully review how risky the position size that you are choosing to trade with could actually lead you. I would encourage you to take some time to back test your strategies and to see, what's the likelihood that I could end up in these scenarios. And to avoid them, we want to make sure we're testing our strategies before making any decisions to trade it live. Now, if you find yourself in a 5 or 10, 15 or 20% drawdown, the good news is that in a good trading system with an edge, as long as you're risking small enough, these are oftentimes a recoverable number. The problem is once you get past the 40 or 50% drawdown points, it becomes very, very difficult to get back to where you started. So this is why the number one thing when it comes to being better about drawdowns is being proactive and not waiting for yourself to be in these problem situations. Because once you're in it, it is very difficult to get out. So being proactive in the sense that I'm going to do some testing, I'm going to plan for what a losing streak could look like for me. Let's say I'm risking 1% per trade. If I'm risking 1% per trade using a stop loss and I lose a couple trades, map out what that would look like. Are you comfortable with that risk? Again, if you have a higher risk tolerance, you may choose to put on bigger size, be more comfortable with bigger losing streaks, and just accept that in return for potentially higher gains. Of course, the drawback with that is that with bigger potential gains, you get a higher probability that you could end up further down on this chart, which can put you into a pretty troublesome situation. So in my personal opinion, I like to be more on the small risk per trade side of things, but that is something that each person listening to this video has to make up for their own decision. What kind of trade size are you comfortable with in your own trading? And what are you prepared for, in the sense that if you want to make bigger gains, you do have to accept that you are likely going to end up further down the line here at some point in your trading. So what I would encourage you to think about is choose a threshold where you'd be like, I'd be comfortable seeing my account do this within my trading strategy, and find the appropriate position size that works for you on that basis. We'll be doing a lot more videos like this, discussing key trading tips and trading psychology things within this YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button for more like this in the future, and we'll see you next time.